It's been 1 week since the largest, most pro version of the brand new Apple Silicon MacBooks hit the street. The M1 Max MacBook Pro 16 promises to be the biggest, the baddest, the longest lasting MacBook ever made, and I've been using mine since day one. So how has it held up? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Team, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty surprised here. Not that I hate the laptop or anything, but I'm seriously surprised by how much I like it. Over the past week, this big boy laptop has easily, and it's not even close, this has easily won my favorite laptop of the year. Quick note before we get too far into the video, however, nobody provided me this laptop, gave it to me, loaned it to me, or any other fancy way of saying that I didn't pay for this. I bought this laptop myself, and obviously, I am very glad that I did. Since this is the first follow-up video for the MacBook Pro 16, let's quickly cover the specs and ordering options for this legitimate behemoth of a laptop. The M1 Pro MacBook Pro 16 comes in at a base price of $24.99 or $100 more than the Intel version of the MacBook Pro 16 cost back in 2019. For that money, you'll get the 10-core M1 Pro processor with 16-core GPU, 16 gigabytes of unified memory, and a 512 gigabyte solid-state drive. I do kind of wish that it was 1 terabyte, but I guess you can't have everything. Unlike the MacBook Pro 14, there are only a couple of processor choices here. You can either get the base model M1 Pro or the 10-core M1 Max processor with either the 24 or 32-core GPU. You can also take it up to 32 or 64 gigabytes of unified memory and all the way up to an 8 terabyte solid-state drive. And the top-of-the-line maxed-out version will come in at a wallet-leveling, destroying, absolutely crushing $6,099. The version that I bought and we'll be talking about in this video is the M1 Max with 32-core GPU, 32 gigabytes of unified memory, and the 1 terabyte solid-state drive. Okay, boo, enough boring specs. Let's get to the things that I've liked and that I've disliked in all of my use with this laptop. We started off with the dislikes in the MacBook Pro 14, so let's swap that over and talk about the positives first. One of the problems between the two videos, and with these two chassis being so similar, is there is going to be a lot of overlap between the two on what I like and I dislike. That's just the nature of the game, so you shouldn't find anything too surprising in the next couple of sections on the video if you've already watched my MacBook Pro 14 video. The first thing I like, and I am just blown away by, is the physical construction of this laptop. Team, looking at them right now, I've got all sorts of laptops in my office. I've got older versions of the MacBook. I've got Windows productivity laptops. I've got Windows gaming laptops. I am kind of a laptop fanatic. I have not come across a single laptop that's as well built as this one. Not from Apple, not from Windows. The construction is 100% on point. This is the most robust feeling and highest quality build that I've seen to date. And without throwing more hyperbole at you today, I can point to a single feature that is a microcosm of how well the whole laptop is put together. This display, despite how big it is, has practically no flex to it. I'm afraid to actually push any harder to see flex because I assume any flex we'll get at that point will just be the screen breaking. Even on my comparably priced Dell XPS 1790-710, you will get flex in that display. One of the main differences here is you will get a slight bit of width on this MacBook compared to previous generations, but if it buys us this kind of quality, I'll take that deal every single day of the week. Add in that now on the body of the MacBook, we get most of the standard I/O. It's like a match made in heaven. I love that we've now got an HDMI port. It's 2.0, which it was 2.1, but okay. I love that we've now got an SD card slot and that we have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. There are a few things missing, which I'll talk about in the things that I don't like, but this is a very capable and proficient machine for almost any kind of person that makes money with their computer. You might almost call that person a pro. Wink. I've also really liked this keyboard update. Now, I haven't used the keyboard on this laptop as much as the MacBook Pro 14 because I've kept this pretty much in clamshell mode for its entire life thus far. But in the time that I have used it, it's wonderful. The keys are crisp, the spacing is darn near perfect, and the color palette change from full aluminum to matte black, it just looks phenomenal. Sure, little touches like that black background don't add any capability to the laptop, but it makes it look even cooler. And I'm not yet so old or boring of a dad that I can't appreciate the office worker's equivalent of racing stripes on my laptop. Just like racing stripes make a car faster, cool looking keyboards make you type faster. That's science. It's very surprising to me how much I like the body of this laptop. Like I already said, I wasn't expecting to hate the laptop. I generally like all laptops. You gotta really have a problem for me to dislike a laptop. But I've never been the world's largest fan of big tech. I like small phones, small tablets, etc. Heck, I only ended up using the original MacBook Pro 16 after it was on the refurbished website and I was working from home. I returned that thing twice before because I just hated carrying it with me anywhere. But this feels great to take with you. I haven't done any major cross-country trips in the past week, but I've taken it with me to get a few things done when I was taking trips in my truck. And even when we lost power this week, this was a snap to carry around and use from my truck desk or use around the house when I needed to. Because it's pretty much the same size as the older MacBook Pro 16, this is probably more of my mindset changing towards being okay with larger tech. I am using the iPhone 13 Pro Max, for example, but while I personally thought previous versions of the large MacBook were too big, I don't feel the same way here. Plus, I love that not only is this amazing as a laptop that can travel well, but because of those ports and increased external display support, plugging this laptop into my external desk setup was literally instant. I plugged in one cable and was good to go. Sure, this is also something that works well with my M1 Max in my specific use case. I only use one gigantic ultra-wide monitor, but if you are someone that has several screens that you use at once for work or school, here you'll actually be able to get up to 3 6K displays out from the Thunderbolt and 1 4K display from the HDMI. Normally, you kind of have to pick. Will the laptop be good as a travel laptop, or will it be good solely as a working from home laptop? And here, you don't really have to pick at all. The second I need to move, I unplug the one Thunderbolt cable, and when I get home, I plug it right back in. It's like cable management nirvana, but don't look at my cable management, it's a nightmare. The next thing that I've really liked is the display. Much like the rest of the computer, this is also the nicest display that I've ever seen on a laptop. And I try to counterbalance my own excitement for things like this by recommending that you go to a store and check these out if you can, because it's really hard to say with words how nice this display looks. I can give you the specs. 120 Hz refresh rate, 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, 1,000,000,000 colors, 1,000 nits of brightness. But that really doesn't do it justice, nor will any sort of B-roll that I shoot for this video do this display justice. It's gorgeous. I know I said the display on the MacBook Pro 14 is amazing, and it is incredible. Tech-wise, it's the exact same screen, but this one being bigger, and because of how large the display is, it makes all of those tech specs all the more impressive because they were able to get it in such a big screen, and it's so good. I would pay a handsome price to have this screen, but like expanded out to 32 inches for my own desk setup. All right, let's move on to probably the most impressive part about the whole darn laptop. The power of the M1 Max chip is off the charts wild stuff. Much like I don't normally go for large laptops, I'm not one to fawn over big numbers on a bar chart. And for me, it's not the bar charts that are that impressive, though let's be clear. These bar chart numbers for the M1 Max are crazy. I mean, it's outscoring the Ryzen 5900HX, which is a monster multi-core processor, and before this was the most powerful mobile processor I had in my arsenal. It's even coming very close to desktop level performance. You can see on this chart, it's so close to my Ryzen 5800X that I have in my custom-built Windows PC. While the end numbers and practical power is what's most important, something I do want to point out as a gee whiz serious impressive achievement, while the 5800X is outscoring the M1 Max processor in the CPU benchmarks, that Ryzen pulls in 190 watts of power during those tests, while the M1 Max pulls in roughly 40 watts of power, or less than 1/5 the power of the desktop CPU. I mean, I knew whatever Apple was going to design was going to be most impressive for not only its power, but its power efficiency. But that's crazy. Practically speaking, I very much enjoy just how smooth and fast the computer feels to use. I'm not sure if this is an M1 Max feature or a macOS Monterey, but everything feels fast when using the computer. I can't even say that this is about the 120 Hz display because, like I've said, I've been running it through an external display most of the time, and that external display has been capped at 60 Hz. But what's most important to me for practical use with all of that power, all of those capabilities, everything that's crammed into this computer, I've not yet heard a single fan. You might think to yourself, Gary, who cares? Computers have fans and sometimes they need to turn on to keep everything cool. But here, I've not even felt the chassis of my laptop start to get warm, even when running benchmarks or doing my video editing. I'm sure there's a way to heat this thing up, and I'm sure there are videos out there right now of folks that have gotten this to heat up and gotten those fans spinning. But I don't stress test these machines. I just use them in the way that I would normally use them, and I add in some benchmarks for comparison. This hasn't made a sound. When those Windows machines that we talked about are getting close to or exceeding the M1 Max for power, they also sound like the equivalent of a hairdryer on my desk. Like you can hear them when they're working. Once you go with a quiet computer, it's really hard to tolerate fan noise in anything else. Battery life here sounds great. This being the computer that has the most amount of life on any MacBook. I mean, 21 hours is a legit mind-boggling amount of juice for any piece of technology. Personally, I haven't had many opportunities to test this out over the past week, so hopefully in the 1 month later video, I will have had a chance to put the battery more through its paces. Whew. I'm exhausted. That's a lot of things I like. But the laptop's not perfect, so let's talk about a couple of things that I didn't like as much in my use. Spoiler alerts, these are nitpicks. They will either not cause me to be unable to use the computer, or they will be fixed with software updates in short order. So I'm going to talk about these, but I don't imagine they're going to last very long. Bringing it back to the amazing laptop body, I really do not like that they did not include at least one USB-A port on the body of this laptop. I know a lot of tech has moved past USB-A, and a lot is really only USB-C, but there are absolutely requirements for older ports and accessories to this day. And one of the things that I hate more than anything else is needing to bring a dongle or adapter with me. They already increased the size of the body. It would have been so easy to just pop in a USB-A. I would have given up one of the Thunderbolt ports to get a USB-A and a Thunderbolt on each side. The only other thing that I really don't like is more of a holdover from the MacBook Pro 14 video than this one, because again, this has been plugged into an external display most of the time I've had it. I don't like how the display notch is not recognized by the operating system as an edge of the screen. So you can have windows or menu items hidden behind it. I don't have an issue with the notch itself, just the software issues that either weren't considered while integrating the software with the laptop itself, or the team just didn't have time to get it right. I would bet a lot of money that this will be fixed soon, and there are already apps that you can already use to make this one solid bar, so it's not a deal breaker for me, but it's just something that's kind of annoying, and I wish they would have fixed this before they started selling it. But at the end of the day, so what, right? With as much as I gushed about this laptop and talked about how much I like it, would I recommend you also go out and get one? Maybe. I say maybe a lot in these videos because there's no single answer for everybody. It's very rare to find a black and white yes or no answer for every single person that's going to watch this video. The thing about the MacBook Pro 16 is it's expensive. It's very expensive. And unless you really need all that power, it's hard for me to recommend you spend that kind of expensive money here, when if you need a general sort of just laptop, the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro 13 do a lot of the same for like a third of the cost. Though if you do need this much power and are looking for the absolute pinnacle best laptop you can get, I highly recommend the M1 Max MacBook Pro 16. This is easily my favorite laptop out right now. Yes, this supplants my beloved MacBook Air, which I didn't think was going to happen until the next MacBook Air came out. This has shocked us all, I know. It's powerful, it's compact, the display is fantastic, it doesn't make any noise. It's almost as powerful as my custom-built Windows PC. This laptop has it all, and if you need all of that, I absolutely recommend this without any hesitation. And if you like this video and you would like to see my perfect desk setup for the M1 Max MacBook Pro 16, you can find that video by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.